right, y'all. Welcome back to the War Room. We're so happy to finally get this back and rolling. Of course, we got someone new today joining the squad. Please welcome Thomas over here.
What's going on?
Of course, we always got Bert holding it down over here. And yeah, it's been a long time. It's been too long. Life's been crazy ever since COVID hit. Our episodes have been just ridiculously sporadic. We've been trying to look for extra help, and now we got it in Thomas, and that really helps us out.
You know, we've been hitting the free agency market pretty hard.
Well, we got bought out by Barstool, so I mean, we had to do a holdout on them totally. But yeah, so we're back and we're super excited. And I mean, I could not believe when we finally started getting this thing back together and we chose today as the date that we're all of a sudden given like 3 days worth of material for one episode for just in one sport. Like the NFL has just exploded. So that's what we're going to focus on today. There's been a ton of NFL free agency signings, franchise tags, trades, all that stuff. Even a buyout or two, if I remember correctly. So we're going to go through that. But to start off, we're going to first cover something huge. Tom Brady took a 2-month, maybe just a 2-month vacation that he masked as a retirement. And now he's back, and he's going to be playing for Tampa Bay. He's not going to seek another team. A lot of people were saying he was going to try to buy himself out from Tampa Bay, go to the 49ers. So, guys, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, it pretty much shocked me.
It didn't shock me at all, to be honest. He still looked good. He still looked really good playing. I didn't think he was going to stay retired, and clearly Gronk didn't think so either.
Mm.
I mean, it makes sense for him to come back. He's staying in Tampa Bay. The team's stacked, obviously. So no shocker whatsoever for him to come back.
Especially since his deal with Tampa is like another 2 years, I think. And that's when probably he'll be like, okay, yeah, I'm really done. And that's when everyone's contracts are probably going to be up anyway. So that's where it's going to disperse. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the main thing was, I don't think the question was whether he was able to. It was like, did he really think that, one, if he didn't like where he was going to be able to go somewhere else? Which it turns out that was really no, because Bruce Arians straight up said, like, if he comes back, we ain't gonna let him go nowhere else.
Yeah, I heard that to trade him, the starting asking price was 5 first-round picks. So
yeah, that's basically just flipping the bird to all the other teams. Yeah,
just
one of the 44-year-old, any position would you hear that from? But I mean, the other thing is like, I think Tom Brady may have also been considering like, hey, this last season I had a stacked team, but some of these guys are starting to get up there a little bit. You look at Chris Godwin tearing his ACL. That means he's not coming back till playoffs.
Another thing I would say is just that opens the door so much for Tampa Bay. To seek those newer guys, new faces. Really hit the draft hard.
Yeah. The thing is with the draft, they really have to hit stuff. I mean, get guys in certain positions that are going to hit immediately. They can't afford for someone to develop over even 2 years, because then Brady's gone.
Well, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. You still have Kyle Trask back there.
Oh yeah, I mean, they can make some moves to help themselves prepare for that hard transition when it comes. But I think the bigger question is like, okay, what are they going to do for the now, right? Because they're low on cap space. They still have a good defense.
Did they re-sign Leonard Fournette?
I haven't heard about that yet. I mean, I can check. I don't believe they did.
Because I think what they should do, low-key, is start targeting the positions like in higher age. So like defensive line.
Well, it's looking like they haven't reached a deal with Jason Pierre-Paul yet.
Yeah, the only guys they brought back is Godwin on a franchise tag.
I think that was awful of Godwin to do. Godwin should have gotten paid. Because I think...
But he's not in a position to leverage being his own injury.
Sure,
so I would have
absolutely. But
is the franchise tag just a one-year deal?
It's a 1 year. I think he's getting paid 19.1
but that might be the best move for him, because then he'll get a couple more games to market himself better.
But you don't know if he's going to come back as well as he played. I mean, that's what the risk you run. So if I was Godwin, I would have gone ahead and signed a 100 for 5 and gotten paid $20 million a year in Tampa, or he could have even gone somewhere else and gotten that money.
Yeah, the Browns were interested.
The Colts were interested. Honestly, if I was Godwin, I would have locked up the 9-figure contract. And
well, it's just tough to do. I don't think the Bucks were going to be interested in a 5-year contract with a dude who's currently coming off an ACL tear. That's the tough thing. It's like, okay, what was he dealt, and then what was he thinking?
Or if I was Godwin, I would have signed already. I wouldn't have waited for more money. Or I would have signed halfway through the season. Or like at the beginning of the season after.
Well, yeah, preferably before he tears his ACL.
Absolutely. But like he had such good offers even prior to this season. I mean,
although a lot of those really big time offers that would have had a lot of guaranteed money would have required him moving from Tampa Bay and not having a shot at the Super Bowl.
Sure.
But as far as what he's looking at now, I mean, you know, he probably had some offers from the Browns. That was what the reports were saying. I bet you Green Bay was probably giving him a call or two because the word is now, we'll get into this later, Green Bay is allegedly looking into Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry's getting looked at everywhere. Like the Saints are looking at it too.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and the Chiefs.
Yeah, and we'll get into that later. But as far as it comes back with Tom Brady, what are our predictions? Do we think it's gonna? You know, I don't think it's necessarily a level of drop off. It's just, do you think that with the team that they can still put around him?
Well,
do we think it's going to be
according to sports books? I mean, they went from a 25-1 to 7.5-1 favorite to make the Super Bowl.
That's well, I mean, if you also look at the pattern, I saw the other day, like the last 7 or 8 years of Tom Brady's postseason results have resulted in I don't have the pattern exactly memorized, but it's like playoff loss, Super Bowl, playoff loss, Super Bowl, playoff loss, Super Bowl.
I don't.
And it's like this season is next in the pattern, and everyone's like, "Oh no."
Honestly, I don't think they're gonna make the Super Bowl.
I think it's possible, but is it probable?
No.
I think there's other teams that
finally
have got the right formula in the front office.
I think if the Rams re-sign everyone, I think they'll be back at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, they have the people to do it. The two main questions, actually, there's really three. One, what is Aaron Donald going to do? It seems like he's going to stick around, but for how long? Two, what's Von Miller going to do? Is he going to go back to the Broncos? Which we'll get into that later. We'll get into that in a little bit. And then the other question is Odell Beckham. Where does he walk? So
I'm sorry to kind of go back to the Tom Brady deal here.
Well, we need to finish that off, yeah.
I'm looking at Leonard Fournette's Instagram. And apparently, a couple days ago, he posted a goodbye Tampa, or a soon-to-be goodbye Tampa post.
Ooh.
But after Tom Brady made his announcement that he's coming back, Leonard deleted that.
Ooh.
So.
Well, he had an insane second half of the season, so we'll see the money and whatnot, because you have to remember that part of the.
So the question becomes is if that Instagram post leads anybody to believe that he's coming back, what does that do for Tampa? Does that put them over the?
Well, that definitely clears up your running back need.
Yeah. Well, the other question is, what is Ronald Jones' current contract?
Well, Jones is one-dimensional, really. He's not a pass catcher. He's just a run downhill kind of guy, run in between the tackles. I mean,
yeah, he's
a power back more than an elusive.
He's a better lead down back, and I wouldn't sleep on his pass catching ability because.
Sure, absolutely not. But I think
he's a more balanced running back than Fournette, because Fournette is like the guy you want to put in your pro set and run the ball. Like, he's your power back. Does that mean he's not fast? No, he's definitely freaky fast, but Ronald Jones has got an extra step on him. He's a better lead down back when you're more in the 50-yard line. But then Leonard Fournette does what he does, in the back half of last season, and we're just like, okay, what we thought, we don't know what we think anymore because he can do everything.
I think Leonard Fournette just needed to take time to fully get into the offense. So I think that's why he was slow at the beginning of the season. I still think he's a way better running back than Ronald Jones, obviously, because one, he's a better pass catcher. I think he's more efficient with his runs. I don't know. I just think if he comes back, you play Fournette and Ronald Jones takes that back seat, maybe like a 75-25 split, 60-40 split.
I don't see that.
Maybe if you don't want him to get as much workload, maybe 70-30 split. I don't know. Just like more in favor of Fournette.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with Fournette's with what he has been doing the last 2 seasons, especially with the new nickname Super Bowl Lenny. I think definitely his asking price in the free agency market, if he ever hits that again, or in the trade market, is going to be higher than Ronald Jones. But Ronald Jones, I think, can hang around an extra year or two because he's just a little bit younger. But at the same time, I think that's not pivotal. I think if they keep one of those two, they're still in a great spot, and that'll also save them some cap space. So maybe we see one of them move. Maybe they say, we get an extra year or two after Ronald Jones. He could be a guy that when we move on from the Brady era, that could still be around. It's always a question with running backs when you make a contract more than 2 years. But, you never know. The big thing is that as far as for their longevity, at least for a year or two after Brady, they'll have a shot to re-sign Godwin after next season. And we'll see how that works out. And they also still have Mike Evans on contract, so they don't have to worry about that right now. That helps. And they re-signed their center, Ryan Jensen, and also their cornerback, Carlton Davis.
They did lose one of their key O-linemen.
The left tackle, yeah.
Crap, what's his
And
name?
he went to the Bengals.
It's something Kappa.
Yeah, he went over there to plug one of the many holes.
By the way, which is a great pickup for the Bengals.
No,
Joe Burrow has probably a little bit more time in the pocket, so he doesn't have to run around risking his other ACL.
It was whoever was playing left tackle for the Bengals in that Super Bowl on that last play. If he would have just held up Aaron Donald for a half second, they had what's his name, Jamar Chase wide open for a touchdown to win the game on the last play. So
I don't know. I think the Bengals, low-key, might be a scary team to look at getting into the Super Bowl.
The biggest thing is they reminded me of. I'd say to even more past what this team represented of where the Cowboys were when they had that tragic loss in the playoffs.
Don't even compare to anyone to the Cowboys.
No. I'm talking 5 years ago when they had all that skill on rookie contract. When you had Dak and you had Zeke, you had some helpful veterans, but you just had a lot of young guys at skill positions, and it looks all great. And then what happens? Then they re-sign these big deals that are max contracts, and then it becomes difficult, right? The Bengals can make these big moves to push now because all of their skill positions are on rookie contracts.
Absolutely.
Joey B, Jamar Chase. You got one other guy.
You got T. Higgins.
Yes, they got the guy from Clemson. And then you got a tight end in there too, who's not.
Uzoma went to the Jets. I thought that was a pretty solid pickup for Zach Wilson, but.
And their bar is so low over there in New York.
I think is his name Drew Sample? Is that the tight end?
Possibly.
I don't know. I think that offense. Then you have Joe Mixon in the backfield. You have Samaje Perine to take a little bit of the load off of Joe Mixon.
He can really serve as like a pro set, like short yardage back too, to take some hits that Joe Mixon doesn't need to.
So I think their offense is gonna be good. I think they should target O-line in the draft. I think they should target corner in the draft because
they can
release that bum Eli Apple.
Bro, yeah, look, their O-line was so bad last year, it was like our southern border. People were just going right through it with no resistance. I mean,
bro,
the Bengals should be targeting O-line in the trade market. They should be targeting O-line in the free agency market. They should be targeting O-line in the buyout market. They need to be targeting O-line in the draft because it was that bad.
Honestly, they should trade up and get like Evan Neal or something.
I mean, not a bad move. But yeah, we'll get into more of that later. Yeah. There's a couple other big things we want to cover. Aaron Rodgers re-signing with Green Bay. At the time when we first heard of this, there was big debate on is the contract 4 years, $200 million, making him the highest paid player, quarterback in football. And initially, shockingly, Pat McAfee's the one who breaks the news by 1 minute, beating Ian Rappaport because Aaron Rodgers gave him a call because they're like buddies. And then in Pat McAfee's report was cap-friendly deal, but it hasn't been, no actual specifics on that because at the time when it was announced, Aaron Rodgers didn't have any. But then Ian Rappaport says 4 years, $200 million.
So the
now what do we know?
Came out earlier today. Yes. It's $150 million for 3 years.
Yeah. So I think the exact was like 156 or something.
Give or take.
Yeah, I guess it's still like when taxes come in, it's at 150. I guess
so it is 150. So how the breakdown of the contract is going to be is the first year he's getting $42 million, and the second year he's getting $59.5 mil, and then in
That-
the third year he's
that
getting
makes sense.
49.3 mil.
That makes sense because it's good that they put a heavier portion of that on the second year because they are struggling for cap space right now.
And plus, the first 2 years are fully guaranteed, by the way.
Nice. Well, first of all, good for Aaron. Love to see a guy get paid when he's a back-to-back MVP winner. But that does beg the question. Okay, I was hoping it'd be closer to like a Tom Brady, like, later year cap deal where it's like we take 25, maybe 30, and that leaves us with more stuff to make some moves. I think they're still going to have stuff to make some moves because they've cut some guys that are veteran guys that just weren't producing the same. I wish I saw them yesterday. They cut a few guys that were eating up some cap space that'll allow them to go and get some guys that are a little bit better for the same price. I wish I had those in front of me, but I just saw it on Twitter a couple times yesterday and last week. But I mean, the biggest thing that's left for Aaron Rodgers' situation is if I can't keep Devontae, because apparently he doesn't want to play it under the tag, which begs the question, why did you sign the franchise tag? Then who are they going to bring in? And we'll get into that, and then when we get into all the other targets in trades and free agency. But as far as the Aaron Rodgers, to kind of just look at this and look at what our predictions, what do we think could result from an Aaron Rodgers return? I wasn't expecting 3 years. I was thinking maybe 2 max.
He's only 36.
Yeah, but it's just he just really seemed to be like, to quote from him, he said, I'm more okay with retirement than ever. I'm really only coming back to push for a Super Bowl.
Sure.
So it's like, for an organization that you had so much beef with the front office with, to come back and say, yeah, 3 years is cool.
Well, I wouldn't say there's necessarily that much beef anymore because they really took a page. The Texans should low-key take a page out of this book. But they really started listening to Aaron being like, okay, you're serious. Let's figure this out. That's why you saw Randall Cobb come back. Because that was one of the big stipulations where it was like, oh, if I'm staying, I want Randall Cobb. I want my boy.
Well, also, they got him for really daggum cheap because that was a mid-season pickup. And the Texans were
from the Texans.
Yeah,
I think my prediction is probably they're going to go have another 10-win plus season and lose in the first or second round and repeat the process.
Yeah.
Dude,
I would love to see Aaron win another one. I think it's really more dependent on, I think he's got, two things. One, he's got to get for sure wide receiver ones. If it's not Devontae, then you're gonna have to spend some big money, or get one or two guys that can split the job of number one. That could be a Jarvis Landry or someone else with that, which we'll get into that later as we keep saying.
Ooh, that would actually be kind of. Now that I'm thinking about it,
there's some stuff that can be looking pretty scary if the Devontae deal doesn't work, but we'll get into that later. But for me, I would love to see him push for another one. I think it's really more based on his defense and them not playing in an absolute slosh bowl like they did in the playoffs this last season, because they just couldn't get anything done on offense because they were playing in like a monsoon with ice.
Green Bay? Oh,
Yeah.
in the playoffs.
Yeah, and also whoever the Green Bay special teams coordinator was, he better be like out on the street under a highway now. Are you kidding? They literally, that game was lost purely by special teams. If they don't give up a punt for a touchdown, like if they don't fumble that punt and give them a free touchdown, they lose. The other team
win.
loses. The other team won purely by special teams. That's of course when your typical high school football coach comes in and is like, and that's why special teams is so important, gentlemen. That's why we're running this for 30 minutes of practice. But that is why it's important, because that team was good to go.
Special teams make a difference,
especially when the weather is not helping you. So
yeah, but you can't take it away from San Francisco, though.
They put themselves in a position to win the game.
Exactly.
But what won the game was special teams,
and plus defense. Green Bay's defense was awful that last drive.
And Deebo Samuel did everything he could to seal that game for him.
Deebo Samuel did everything this season.
Ran the ball. I think he had over 500 yards rushing, if I'm correct,
This
and then
man
1,000
had-
receiving.
This man might be the first player in NFL history to have 1,000-yard receiving, 1,000-yard rushing season.
Yeah, it's like he just does everything. He's
Get
gonna
the
have, he's
tri-
gonna have
get the
1,000-yard rushing. He's gonna have 1,000-yard receiving.
Get the triple crown in receiving.
Oh, yeah.
Get 1,000 yards rushing.
Yeah, 1,000-yard receiving, 1,000 yards rushing. He's going to take over as the GM and negotiate everyone's contracts from now on. He's going to serve as lead counsel, the whole shebang. He's basically going to be what Bill O'Brien was trying to do, just the emperor. But
But he would probably do a better job than Bill O'Brien, if we're going to be completely honest.
A sack of potatoes would do a better job than what Elio Stoops did.
Bill O'Brien's freaking awful. I strongly dislike Bill O'Brien.
No. This is our podcast. You can hate somebody.
Anyways.
Well, the other big bomb that dropped was Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson going to Denver for some picks, and because it's Drew Lock, Noah Fant, one or two other players that I've never heard of before.
From what I heard, Shelby Harris is a very solid, I think, defensive player.
Okay.
He's a very solid defensive player.
Well, either way, it seems that the Seahawks just went full, or have just committed to a full rebuild.
I think they're probably going to draft a quarterback this year. I think Malik Willis. I think Malik Willis is going to Seattle.
I like him a lot.
Either him or Kenny Pickett. But I think Malik Willis is a better quarterback, honestly.
I forgot I forget where they sit in the draft. I keep thinking they've been so good the last 5 years, even though they keep coming up short.
I think Malik Willis will go. Who's first?
Maybe.
I think he's gonna be later first. Yeah, so I think maybe
He did get hurt.
I think maybe a Steelers might pick him up.
It's so weird in the draft how you have these guys that are clear cut, they are professional grade, and then you have these guys like Malik Willis that just once the combine rolls around, they come through and then they really their stock raises. It's really weird.
I don't know. I think Matt Corral is going to be a late first. I think Pickett will be a middle of the pack. I think, honestly, if Washington was smart, they would draft the quarterback. I don't think Carson Wentz.
But wait. The breaking news that just totally upset Kenny Pickett's draft status. His hands are so small, 8.5 inches.
Oh,
what are we going to do
word.
about that?
No.
Whatever will we do?
Oh, my gosh. I don't know.
Anyway, well, in regards to the Broncos,
I think
offense looks stacked, right?
I think the Broncos, honestly.
You got Jerry Jeudy, you got Cortland Sutton, you got somebody else in that weapons package.
The Broncos
as well.
on paper will go to the Super Bowl.
Well, he's a free agent.
He is a free agent.
So,
but Javonte Williams,
which they might want to stick with him because Melvin Gordon, since he came over, Melvin Gordon was not performing.
They're 50-50 split right now.
Yeah,
and I think
Melvin Gordon hasn't been delivering on that contract.
Javonte Williams has been a much more efficient running back, but on paper, the Broncos look like they're going to be in the Super Bowl, if not the AFC Championship. But I mean,
I think it's a classic situation of all you were really missing was that franchise quarterback.
Yes,
there was no question that Drew Lock wasn't the guy.
And I'm surprised we didn't see this coming because the Broncos were not in my thought of making something like this and being ready to be a contender. But when you look at how they set up their team, they really were they were looking for the final piece.
Here's the thing. I have an even bold prediction. No, not really bold, but Jerry Jeudy is going off. He's going nuclear year 3. I think he's going to be...
I think that's a fair...
I think he's going to be all-pro.
Prediction.
I think he will have at least 1,100 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns.
All that was... Like we were talking about, all that was missing was that... I mean, the
quarterback,
the players are there. The weapons are there.
Because you
just got to find somebody that can get the weapons the ball.
And first off, let's just say this: he's already in a better situation. Not even just by the weapons. I mean, he still had DK and Tyler Lockett, but his own line is better, so he doesn't have to run around and run for his life.
Now he can pick and choose when he wants to extend plays instead of every play being I'm being chased by 3 guys.
Yeah.
There might be some green grass over here. I might be able to get a throw off.
That's insane, man. Just thinking about Russell Wilson having the ability to sit back in the pocket. Oh, Jerry's not open, or if
Cortland's
not open.
Tim Patrick's not open.
He's probably so used to running for his life, like Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, he reminds me, or similarities between Deshaun. I don't want to say he reminds me of Deshaun Watson because he's older and whatever, but I think he is a more efficient or consistent thrower than Deshaun, and the similarities are clearly there with how they play by extending plays.
I think nowadays
with their
you look
feet.
At the NFL quarterback, you're starting to see the pocket passers, the Tom Brady's, the Peyton Mannings. They're on their way out. You're starting to see more Russell Wilson style quarterbacks that have the ability to extend plays with their legs. You're looking at more athletic quarterbacks.
Well, it's like even if you're not a quote dual threat, like a Josh Allen is technically a dual threat because he has the size. He's not a breakaway speed guy, but when it's necessary, that dude can run the ball.
Sure,
and he can take hits while doing it.
I think
he's not a statue, but he's not. He sits in that weird thing where like he's not a dual threat, but at the same time he gets it done running the ball.
It's definitely important now because I think the game is shifting to a more athletic type of way to play. I think it's very important that as a quarterback you can run.
Well, you look at. I think a lot of this is simply because defenses have become way more.
Absolutely,
correct.
Absolutely.
Look at the edge rushers of like Von Miller,
Aaron Donald,
J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
A couple years ago.
There you go.
He was still balling until he got that shoulder injury last
season.
Sure,
absolutely.
Let me rephrase that. Not J.J. Watt, but T.J. Watt.
There we go.
Okay. Well, JJ was still balling until he got that
shoulder.
Sure, absolutely. And then when he came back, what he was able to do as far as the recovery process and how he played in that game, he still played very good in that game for what he was dealing with. I think he had still 3 tackles for loss, no sacks, but in that playoff game. But that's besides the point. So I definitely think it's going to work. One interesting comparison that at first, and it's probably going to be y'all's reaction as well when I make this comparison. There's some similarities and big differences between what Russell Wilson does and what Carson Wentz does. And just hang with me here.
Yeah, Russell Wilson wins.
Pretty much. But as far as their play style, right? They both have the amazing playmaking abilities, right? Carson Wentz can make plays. Whoa. The problem is Carson Wentz makes plays for both teams. But the thing with Carson Wentz is he has the ability to make plays happen, especially when the play explodes. The problem with Carson Wentz is he'll do that on a 3rd and 1 and throw an interception, whereas Russell Wilson will pick and choose when it's necessary to force something and scramble and stuff like that, and Carson Wentz can't control it, and that's why Carson Wentz, it's like, he's amazing, and then it's, oh my gosh, he's like the reincarnation of like that one guy from the Buffalo Bills that was so terrible.
I see the comparison that you're making. And I think there's some valid validity.
It's not all similarities. It's just looking at what makes Russell Wilson great because they both can extend plays. They both take risks, but Russell Wilson is significantly better for a reason.
Decision making is better than.
That's what I was talking about. That's why I was saying when y'all hear that, you're gonna go, "What the heck are you talking about?" But that's why.
As a quarterback, being able to make those decisions is the job.
Exactly.
And you talk about this comparison between the two, and athletically, I would say yes, there is a comparison to be made there. However, that decision-making aspect of the comparison.
Well, there's a difference between play style and decision-making. I'm saying their play styles are similar in how what abilities they have with them. But with Russell Wilson, he also has the game-managing aspect and knowing when the right risks are there to take. So with Carson Wentz, it's like even though he's had enough years to figure it out. Now, granted, that dude was a prisoner of Philadelphia for so long, where he had a ham sandwich to throw to.
I mean, Alshon Jeffrey was a bomb.
Well, in the last 2 years, he really, he was kind of struggling, but really he struggled with Nelson
I
Aguilar.
don't think you can say that. I mean, Philly did win a Super Bowl while Carson Wentz was there.
And he was hurt.
He was hurt, though. I'm saying. And then after that, that's when the decline happened because a lot of people.
Then again, that was his MVP type season.
Exactly.
So, to me,
I'm about to say, like, Carson Wentz has proved that he can play, and he can be great. But the problem is, we get in the last 3 years, we've gotten, he's great, and then, oh my gosh, like it's just way too much up and down. And the same thing happened in Indy. He still hasn't managed to find the game managing aspect in his play style, and Russell Wilson has always had that, and that's why he still has the same play style as Carson Wentz, but he is a way better quarterback because he can manage a game and not take unnecessary risks.
I think Russell Wilson's going to be, even though in the first 8 weeks of the season, every single year he's an MVP candidate. Yep. I think this year he might win MVP.
He could,
because from what I've been seeing and reading, Pete Carroll was holding him back in Seattle by running the ball more when you were supposed to pass it. And I think because the prime example of this was the Steelers game. I don't know if he played or not. I don't think he played, but you could see just by the aspect of just dogging the ball down the middle. And
that was when if that was later in the season, if I'm correct, I think I watched that game. They didn't even have a healthy Chris Carson to do that to. They had 2 backups.
They had Alex Collins. He went over 100 yards that game.
Yeah, but, and Alex Collins is good. I remember when he played for Arkansas, and that dude was a beast. But My main point was like, if you don't have all your weapons in the stable there,
Sure.
and you have two Ferraris, well, one of them an aging one in Tyler Lockett, but you have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf,
Yeah, I think you should have thrown a lot more.
I mean, the saying last season from a lot of Seattle fans was "let Russ cook," and that was coming out their mouths for a reason, right? If they felt like Russell Wilson was not getting the opportunity to throw it as much as he should to win games, and I mean that could be like later in the season, like all of Seattle was in the mindset of like, hey, we only have 5 wins, we got 4 games left, we're not making the playoffs, let's increase our draft capital.
Sure, I think Russell Wilson's going to go nuclear with Jerry Jeudy this year. I think that combo is going to be something special to watch, but then that almost makes you think, oh, what's Seattle gonna do now?
Tank.
Well, not only rebuild, but I think they should blow it up completely and just say, okay, Tyler Lockett, 2nd round pick, DK Metcalf, first round pick, send DK to Vegas, send DK to Miami. They're not in the conference.
DK to Miami.
You see, you give him a younger quarterback in Tua, where Teddy Bridgewater can coach him up. You have Jalen Waddle for the slot, and if you need to, you can send him on a freaking deep streak or whatever, go route. I mean, get
a second or third, like a year or two from now for Lockett, maybe.
Yeah, but you have DK. I really do like DK in Miami because you have him as your alpha
with Tua, Waddle.
Then you have Chase Edmonds in that backfield again.
I forgot they signed Chase.
Chase Edmonds.
We'll get into
that.
think
we will get into that later. But I think that was the most underrated pickup in this whole offseason season.
Especially they had a need for a lead down back, and Myles Gaskin was a bump.
And we'll get to that later. But just seeing how they still have Mike Gesicki, who's a really serviceable tight end. I mean, he's not like all pro, but he's not a bum.
He can get the job done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think if you send DK down there, you give him a number 1 receiver, you get a developing quarterback like Tua, that offense can work some wonders, I think. The offensive line's not that bad. I mean, you still want to get some more help, I would think. Mm-hmm. But I think if you send DK to Miami, that would be a great pickup for them.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Because that's what they're missing. I mean, they have Waddle in hopes that he can turn into that, but you can have that 1-2 punch of DK and Waddle. And if not, you can get Allen Robinson.
And they're both still relatively young, too. So, I mean...
Absolutely. I think DK is like 23, 20,
yeah, I mean,
22, 23.
He's going to be on his 3rd year next season, right?
Think about how young that team would be if this goes through. Like DK Metcalf,
Jalen Waddle,
and
Tua, man.
That is a long.
And the biggest thing is, I predict that we're going to see a much better version of Tua because so far we've gotten some mixed results. Like it's not that he's bad; it's just he hasn't had an offensive coordinator or head coach committed to him.
We're about to see a new head coach in Miami.
And he believes in Tua.
Exactly. Well, the biggest thing, like Brian Flores did a great job in winning games. Of course, there was the whole thing of like his owner like trying to offer him incentives to lose. But I think Brian Flores, while yes, I think he was doing the best thing for had the best like insight for the team at the time, which was, hey, let's not get Tua killed, but let's also like we can use Fitzpatrick and the other guys we have around us to try to get a couple games won and kind of increase morale, etc.
Well, don't forget they should also re-sign Will Fuller.
Yeah, they should also do that. But as far as with the previous head coach, it's like he wasn't able to do that and prove to Tua that that the team was invested to him, and that was the problem. And that might have been part of the reason that the Dolphins parted ways with him was their struggles with Tua. Mm-hmm. So this new head coach coming in and from the get-go, like having a private conversation that was eventually leaked out with Tua, that's saying like, "Hey, we are all in on you.
Yeah,
like, you're going to get playing time this season."
And then they still have their whole defense there, who was I think towards the end of the season, I think top 5.
Very good.
And then they just re-signed Emmanuel
Ogba. They got my boy Christian Wilkins at defensive tackle. That dude's going to be good.
Then they re-signed Emmanuel Ogba for a 4-year, $65 million deal, which I thought was pretty good. Mm-hmm. And then also for more O-line help, who they could sign was Teron Armstead if he doesn't go back to the Saints to help on the tackle side. Yeah,
I think the Dolphins can only go up. I think it's a question of can they put the necessary pieces around that offense to be not just a high-level playmaking team, but a consistent, moving the ball.
Yeah, and they also signed. I just looked at it. They also signed Cedric Wilson Jr. from the Cowboys, who was the guy who was picking up while Gallup was out.
Yep.
And he played extremely well. So I really like that pickup.
They probably
Maybe
got a
for
decently low
slot.
asking price for that too, right?
No, they signed him.
No, I mean his asking price. Like, what was it? Like, what did he get out of it?
I couldn't see the details.
Yeah,
but
I
just
saw the deal, and I didn't raise an eyebrow when I saw it. So I don't think it was something that was like, oh, he's getting 100.
I was thinking Albert Wilson, but
yeah,
when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, Cedric Wilson.
Yeah.
I remember him. He did play really well, and I thought he should have gotten more snaps and more opportunity in Dallas, to be honest.
All right.
Well, to wrap up with Seattle, so we're thinking
Cedric Wilson has agreed to a 3-year, $22.8.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
I think, and he's young too. I like that deal. No, he's a good slot guy. He would be a really good slot guy.
I think they got a steal there because I think my guess is Cedric Wilson wasn't getting that much attention with all the other veterans.
Absolutely not.
So they picked the perfect time to get him because I think his stock is only going to go up.
Well, I mean, he in Dallas. He has Amari, who's gone. But
yeah, but at the time,
Amari, you got
Gallup,
CD,
yeah,
and that's just the receivers.
Exactly.
To mention.
No,
Zeke, Tony Pollard.
That's a great move by
Dalton Schultz, right?
They had 2 tight ends that were great.
Not to mention Blake Jarwin. I think he's still having a little issues, but
Schultz was killing it.
Schultz was killing it.
I can speak from experience. That dude won me some fantasy football games.
Absolutely.
That was my best free agency pickup. Well, one of my best.
But anyway, there's an argument to be made that Cedric Wilson, was covered up in Dallas.
Yeah. So before we transition into the other trades and signings from around the league, so we're thinking Russell Westbrook. Westbrook. No, I'm not talking about Westbrook.
Hey, I didn't know Westbrook was in the NFL.
Oh my gosh, no. Honestly, he should
good corner, good safety.
With the way things are going with the Lakers, he should go. So Russell Wilson, we're thinking contender.
I think Super Bowl.
Okay, we're thinking,
or at least at the minimum AFC Championship.
Okay,
and Seattle.
I agree with that.
That Seattle obviously not in the playoffs at all.
I think that's the expectations, right?
The expectations, absolutely.
Yeah.
The question for me is just, do they have enough defensively?
Yeah.
I think if Von Miller comes back, they'll look good. Because you have Patrick Surtain.
I don't think Von Miller, just by Von Miller coming back, I don't think that's going to do it.
Well, like veteran leadership.
Okay.
And then leadership's one thing on the defensive line, but
Bradley Chubb there on the other side,
who's finally going to be healthy.
That and you have Patrick Surtain, who's going to be a beast in year 2, showing he can already lock down some of the best receivers in football. I mean, I don't know.
The other thing is like with Vaughn, like I think that team will be good enough that they can play him.
And don't forget,
like
you also have
season,
Justin Simmons at safety.
Yeah. I think with Vaughn, the Broncos might have the luxury with the other guys they have on their defensive line roster to where they can put him as like a third down, pass rush guy for most of the regular season, and then start him in the post when it really matters, since he's getting up there a little bit. But yeah, I really like where the Broncos sit. Like we talked about, they have all their offensive weapons. I think really are gonna show their worth when they have an actual like pro level quarterback, all pros, Pro Bowl level quarterback around them, and it's obvious that Seattle is just they are driving a tank column. Like they're going down.
Yeah, like they should. They shouldn't be competing.
Yeah, sorry. It's just going to keep raining in Seattle, unfortunately. But
yeah. Okay,
so let's get on to the other big trades and signings. I mean, we can go ahead and start off with Amari Cooper going from Dallas. So what are we thinking about that? The weird process, the weird timeline here was the Cowboys, and I think this is a very dumb move in my opinion. He's still got 2 years left on his contract, and they announced that they're going to release him. And then we're like, what is going on? Like, obviously he's a really good talent, struggles with consistency, particularly at away games, because sometimes he give you 3 straight home games of 160 yards and a tutter, and then he gives you 3 straight away games of 40 yards on 3 receptions, and we're like, which Amari Cooper are we getting today? That being said, it's like, okay, the Cowboys offense last season as a whole would struggle at away games, so it's like, I'd love to sit there and make a chart of okay, let's look at his performance with the Cowboys offense as a whole, but he's going to Cleveland on a trade for a 5th and 6th rounder, and Cleveland's taking on that contract. What are we thinking about that, guys?
I don't like that deal at all
for the Cowboys or the Browns.
Either team. I don't think he's going to do good in Cleveland. Because you saw what happened with Odell. I mean, sure, Odell, I think he was coming off of a broken foot from New York, but I mean,
and a hernia.
And what?
And a hernia.
And a hernia, yeah. And when he was healthy, he didn't produce. It wasn't because he didn't have enough talent. Clearly, because you saw that
Cleveland.
You saw that in Los Angeles.
It was Stefanski.
Cleveland didn't use him right, and same coach is still there. And I still think they're not going to utilize Amari Cooper as they should, and the quarterback play.
I was about to say, Cleveland to me seems like a big dumpster fire that doesn't look like a dumpster fire.
Well, I mean, when we look at Cleveland, the front office and the coaching the last 3 years has been like very questionable. If we look at some of the moves they made, they go in the start of last season when they have David Njoku, who in my opinion was one of my favorite tight ends to be like a possible Pro Bowl selection with how good he was doing the couple seasons prior, because he's a guy that is so athletic and so fast, but he can play with a hand down or out in the slot, which is what we want to see from some of our better tight ends, right? We look at Travis Kelce. That dude can do both. He can play with a hand down, he can block, or you can spread him out to the slot and he can run a high post. Like, it's everything we're looking for. Like, even Evan Ingram, even with his inconsistency, what makes him good is he can do both, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, with the Browns already still struggling for cap space, like, they go out and get Austin Hooper or Hopper, whatever it is, I forget which one it is, from the Falcons, and it's like, what are we doing here? And then they proceed to play him all the minutes over Njoku. And then you keep Odell Beckham, and then you proceed to give him like maybe 2 targets a game, and they're both slants.
Again, I don't think
doesn't make sense.
I don't think Stefanski's still there. They're still a run heavy team. I don't think it's honestly on paper it looks fantastic. Offensive wise, like how they play, I don't think it's going to be necessarily that good. I mean, truthfully, I think they should have just bought him out and let him sign wherever, because he would have made a better decision than to go to Cleveland.
Well, I think we're all right on that, and there are some giant question marks. And I think it's not so much with can Amari Cooper be good. It's more like, what are the Browns planning to do, right?
Exactly. So it's more on the Browns. And don't forget, I don't like Baker there because of his decision making. Mm-hmm. He's already been in the league for what, 4 years, 5 years?
I think three.
Okay, going on 3.
He's going on 4.
Going on 4. He's still. You would have seen an improvement on the play decision making. I'm not saying, he was hurt this year. He did have that torn labrum.
Yeah.
2 things. One, it was on the other shoulder, not on his throwing shoulder. It still would have hurt, but
that hurts.
Sure. But you would have still saw better decisions from Baker.
Yeah.
Especially even if he did have a torn labrum, he would have made even better decisions.
You've given Baker everything. You've given him
receivers.
You've given him a run game. You've given him a line, and yet they're still.
Well, I will say the one thing they haven't given him from the looks that I've seen of it is competent head coaching. Or especially on the offensive end, I haven't agreed with all what they do. But I think the main thing is, I mean, take Baker out of the equation for a minute. I think what the Browns are looking to do, I think what could work if they plan to use Amari Cooper in this way. When was Amari Cooper most effective for the Cowboys? Well, it was when they were going with a heavy pro set. He's one of maybe 2 wide receivers or 3 wide receivers on the field. And he's going out, he's running routes maybe every other play, and he can be a threat for 50-50 balls, home run shots, or just, crossing routes where it's necessary to run really good routes. And he is a great route runner. He's still a vertical threat, and with his frame, he can go up and get 50-50 balls in the red zone. Mm-hmm. So with that, the main inconsistency was sometimes he struggles to have a high motor. So I think he's really better in heavier lineups and pro sets and I formations where you can hit him off play action, and he's not having to, run routes literally every single play like he was with the Cowboys, since they were running a lot of wide zone. Yes, they ran pro set, but the Cowboys were like really pass heavy. Mm-hmm. He was really getting gassed, in my opinion. Now, is that an excuse for him? No, I think, to his talent, he should have a high motor and be able to take that. But I think he really would benefit from a team who's going to be run heavy, and him being, getting a lot more one-on-one looks because they're having to put 8 in the box. Because with them having Their running back stable.
Well, you're paying
they can go with that.
You're paying $20 million for a receiver in a run-heavy offense, so he's not going to be as productive as you want a $20 million receiver.
But when you're a run-heavy offense, you've got to have that one guy that you can throw up those 50-50 balls to. As we've seen with so many teams, if you don't have that guy, then the team's going to press the coverage, roll it up. They're going to go one high safety, and they're going to put it in the box.
Honestly, though, that takes the ball out of Baker's hands too.
Sure, but you also have to think, you could probably get a cheaper wide receiver to do that same thing. You could have gotten Mike Williams to do that.
You could
for a cheaper contract.
Well, as we saw, maybe not. Because what did he sign
he's getting paid less than Amari Cooper.
I thought it was like 4 years.
Or actually, no, he might be getting the same.
Yeah, I thought he was a little bit north of $20 million.
But you could get maybe Mike Williams on a cheaper deal, maybe. I mean, I still don't like that deal, but we'll get into that later.
Well, the biggest thing is the Browns, with getting rid of Odell and now Jarvis Landry, they got the cap space to work with. I think they just wanted to find the right receiver for them. And I think Amari Cooper can fit what they're looking for, especially if they really make the decision to go run heavy like they freaking should. Because last year they were still passing the ball a bunch, but just not targeting the right guys. It was and obviously that part of that falls on Baker, but a lot of that also falls on Stefanski.
Well, Baker also targeted. You saw their offense was a lot more efficient when Odell was out, because Baker kept forcing it to Odell sometimes.
Yeah,
when he did get targets.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it was a lot of targets. I'm just saying when he did get targets, he forced it to him.
Probably because the plays that were drawn up, maybe we're really struggling to actually get Odell some targets, because I did not like what Stefanski was doing last season. But that being said, the other thing with Baker Mayfield is while I do agree, he's a very up and down, almost comparable to Carson Wentz. Like he's got brief stints of being really good, and then all of a sudden it's like, why are the wheels falling off the bus? He's a lot more consistent in a run-heavy offense, and particularly, in my opinion, when he's running a pro set where the majority of his deep throws are off play action, he seems to be way better in that environment than in this really spread out, pass-heavy offense that Stefanski was trying to do, while also still doing power runs out of a spread, and it was very weird with H-backs. I don't know. I think they should have just gone and done more what the Titans have been doing, but anywho, I think the basic thing we can look at with the basic opinion that we kind of all seem to have on this is like Amari Cooper himself could work, not will.
Yeah.
But was it the best decision for the Browns to make? That to me, my opinion is the jury's out on that, because of the fact that they're clearing cap space with Jarvis walking and Odell walking.
Jarvis is going to be a big player, low key, and I don't know.
Because let's get into that, right?
At this point, he's going to sign to a team for a Super Bowl, so he's not going to be money.
Yeah.
Head first money.
He's made his money.
Be wide receiver one.
Exactly, sure, but
he can be
a New Orleans with Michael Thomas and then Jarvis Landry.
Hey, if it don't work out with Devontae Adams,
Deontay Harris.
Yeah, if it don't work out with Green Bay with Devontae, he's going to go to. I guarantee he'll go to Green Bay.
I like that move.
I love that move. I think if that was to happen, it would be Jarvis and Allen Robinson. It wouldn't just be one, or it wouldn't just be Jarvis.
That might be more beneficial than just Devontae, in my opinion.
I think. Well, no.
Jarvis Landry, he has to go to a situation where there's going to be another guy there.
That and a good quarterback.
Well, I would say I would say though, when he first went to Cleveland, before they even got Odell or some of these other guys like Peoples-Jones, and before Hollywood really took off, when he was just the only guy, he proved he can be the only guy and be really good.
I don't think he can anymore. I don't.
The question now is, can he still do that? Right.
I just don't think he's.
I think he needs another guy. I think he would be good in one-on-one coverage.
He is a solid
number 2
wide receiver too.
Yeah.
So there's an argument either way.
So I definitely like, if he did go to Green Bay, it would be him and Allen Robinson.
That's what I like a lot.
Or you could see him going to the Chiefs. You could see him going. I think also a sneaky play would be
Miami.
I mean, he was there. Maybe. I think Miami's more looking for a clear-cut number 1 than a number 2.
And a guy a little bit younger too.
Yeah,
I think they would make a play more on Metcalf.
That's why I really like DK there.
Yeah,
but Jarvis, I think a possible suitor could be the Rams, could be the Chargers, could be.
Chargers are going to be low on
makes
cap
sense.
space, though, since they got Mike
the
Williams and Keenan Allen.
Again, I don't think he's going to ask for a lot of money. He's looking for a Super Bowl at this
That's
point.
true.
Chargers makes a lot more sense to me.
Sure.
I don't think the Rams. I think he has a bad taste with Odell from Cleveland.
No,
they're cool.
I don't know.
He went on several calls and would like openly congratulate. Like, he was so happy for Odell. So
Yeah,
I
I
don't
disagree
think it's
with
a
that.
personality issue. I think it's a deficiency.
I think also.
I don't think the problem. As far as
Tell me
on the field and off the field, there's no beef between Jarvis.
Tell me
and
what you think about
but
this.
Odell's a free agent, so
Tell me what you think about this. What about Minnesota for Jarvis?
he's gonna have to do what Kirk Cousins throwing the ball though. But hey, he's
That's
gonna have
a
Adam Thielen.
better
Kirk
quarterback
Cousins.
than Baker.
Kirk Cousins can get the job done.
He can get the job done, but
he's not top five.
Maybe trade Thielen. Open up some cap space.
Well, obviously they're gonna have to. They can't do a trade scenario anymore because they cut him though. So
who?
the Browns. So they can't trade Thielen for Jarvis.
No.
They'd have to sign him.
You
They could
sign
go-
Jarvis
yeah.
and you trade Thielen.
You could.
That
would just involve a third team though. Well,
I'm just trying to think.
as to where he could land, I mean, I think we're on the right track here. Of hey, he's still a really good weapon, can be a difference maker, and it seems like he's going to take a cap friendly deal.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be exciting to watch. We can sit here and filibuster on where we think he's going to go, but I think there's some other stuff we got to get to. Like, hey, Trubisky to Pittsburgh.
That's interesting. I think they're still going to draft a quarterback.
They could, but I think where they're at right now is they're still trying to put certain
Josh Trubisky.
they're still trying to put certain weapons around
Dude,
that offense
are
and
you
defense.
joking? I would just go straight O-line.
Because they're getting rid of well, yeah, O-line included.
Sure.
Schuster's gonna.
But you still
Schuster's
have
gonna
Claypool.
walk.
You still have Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson's a baller who's not even talked about a lot.
Najee Harris is really good. Defense has got to get worked out. O-line is the biggest problem.
I think you more need to work out line. Bobby Wagner to the Steelers.
It's mainly their secondary on defense that I'm kind of skeptical on.
Maybe corners.
That's what I'm talking about.
They have Minka back there.
Yeah.
So-
Minka played good. My main thing is their defense needs one more piece, whether if it's in the draft or in a sign, and their O-line is a huge problem. I liked what I saw in Najee Harris a lot last year. Although I will say, Najee Harris could not get a lot of yards on the ground because his O-line was so bad. So he got the majority of his yards off of like little check down routes.
Yeah. So I think they might target quarterback. Maybe not. I can see them.
My
definitely
argument is
going
go
O-line.
O-line and secondary, or
I think-
even middle linebacker because they may have a hole there.
I think they're the way their team is right now. I think they're in a win now almost way.
If you're in a win now, why would you get Trash Biscuit then?
That's
Yeah.
good. That's a
when
great
I look at them, I don't think they're in a win now situation.
You have Minka TJ that you locked up. You have already Cam Hayward, who's not young, who you locked up.
Yep.
You have who else?
the beast of the interior line position in defense. He's awesome.
You have
Minka.
I already said Minka.
Okay.
But you have Claypool. You have Johnson.
Yep.
You have your team is set up right now to where you can plug in positions where you can draft them and they will be serviceable. Like O-line. You saw Rashawn Slater kill it in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You have Tristan Wirfs, I think that's how you say his name, in Tampa.
I think the bigger question is where do they sit in the draft? What pick do they have? 20? I'm not sure if you're going to get who you want out of that.
I'm looking at a couple mock drafts right now, and I'm seeing offensive linemen.
Yeah, I think what they could do is they can wait one more year because I think next year's quarterback draft class will suit them better if they still need a quarterback.
Sure.
Maybe they're.
And the other thing is you get Trubisky for a ridiculously cheap deal, like compared to what you'd be paying for someone. Yeah.
I think the Steelers.
Because what are you gonna do?
They're in a buffer.
They're in limbo. They're in limbo right now.
They have a team.
My main argument is they have more holes than you think, both on both sides of the ball. Obviously, they have some amazing guys on both sides of the ball, but there's still holes to plug.
So plug them with the draft.
So like here,
Yeah, but then you wait on guys to develop. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're plugging. Yeah.
I think the
Get your
Steelers.
guy next year. That's
I think
the
the
thing.
Steelers would go
And 500
this
Trubisky
year.
allows you to take a risk and see what he can do. If he doesn't work out, then you get a better spot in the draft.
If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna go 500 next year, right? Just tank.
Yeah, exactly.
Tank,
literally, how the Steelers, the team the
I agree.
Steelers remind me of is the San Antonio Spurs.
Or like the Texans from like 2002 to 2010.
No, definitely is the Spurs.
Consistently
because
8-8.
They have the pieces to be competitive, but they're not good enough to go anywhere.
So like the Texans from 2006 to 2011.
There you go.
That's what I was making.
Not two, because they were off. They just,
I know. That was mainly just a dig at the Texans.
Either that, or next year, if you don't like anybody in the draft, I'd say you got to trade away some picks.
Yeah.
Go get it.
So my main argument with Trubisky is the deal's very friendly, and if he doesn't work out, guess what? That means you're in a better spot at the draft to
I feel
get
like
someone
this
else.
is more of a retooling is what they're trying to do than a rebuild. A retooling. So they keep TJ, they keep Hayward, they keep Minka, they keep Deontay, they keep Najee, but they
seems like the
retool.
Steelers, in my opinion, are maybe like a year behind the Broncos.
Yes.
They have the pieces.
If they
They
could
just
just
don't have
speeds
the
that.
quarterback.
The other thing is Deontay Johnson didn't really come on big until last year, and that was when Schuster was struggling too. I don't think he was big the year before.
Oh, he was hurt. That's why.
Exactly.
That's Deontay's big thing.
Claypool has shown he's been a vertical threat and really showed more consistency last year as well. So, they're going on their second year of looking at, okay, can these guys continue to perform at a really high level, right? It's not like they've been sitting around for 3 years like a Jarvis performing at a high level, and it's like, okay, can we push for a chip already? I don't think they have to rush it too much, so that's why I think that it can work out for a 1 year period and then make a decision then.
We'll see on the Steelers. I don't think.
Yeah, I think they're in a decently good spot.
I think a team that's been really weird. Two teams. We'll talk about the other one in a little bit, but one team that's been really weird to me has been the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Very weird.
Because
could be good, could be bad. We don't know.
Oh shoot! Randy Gregory's going to Denver.
Whoa! The Cowboys just re-signed him.
Just re-signed him.
They did a sign and trade.
No,
No. We just heard 5 years, $100 million for Randy Gregory.
No, it's the same. He committed to Denver or to Dallas, and he converted to Denver.
What is he, Mormon? Like, what are we dealing with here? Like, he just...
That's Utah.
Yeah, I know.
Cowboys signed defensive end Randy Gregory to 5 years, $70 million extension.
I just got it, so it might take a second.
That was 47 minutes ago.
What in the world?
I just got the Randy Gregory thing just now.
So essentially,
and this is from NFL Network.
So maybe I guess he was
from ESPN.
Yeah,
that's weird.
But anyways,
so Randy Gregory to Denver.
Yeah, I think that makes Denver's defense
even better.
Bert, you said was like
so now even if you don't get Vaughn or even if you do get Vaughn, now you can put Vaughn on the back foot until the playoffs come around. Let Gregory go in there.
I think this takes Von Miller off the market.
Doesn't have to because Von Miller's gonna take a friendly deal.
Or that can make Vaughn even more excited to go
because he's like, I won't have to deal with
the defense is even better now.
Yeah.
And you can put him outside.
You could.
And you can, or you can even put Randy inside and put Vaughn off the edge.
Or you can just, whenever you want to put your outside guy with a hand down, you put in Gregory. Whenever you want to go to a 3-4, put Vaughn at the outside linebacker position. Perfect.
But anyways, that was just a little tidbit.
Wow.
But again, the team I'm really confused about is Jacksonville.
Yeah.
They look like the Patriots of last offseason, just spending money on everyone. Then I see I was praising them. I was like, okay, Jacksonville, they seem to be doing something, maybe go 500 this year. Then they dropped $84 million for 3 years on Christian Kirk.
Which look, I love Christian Kirk, but that's very questionable.
All right, so you're telling me you're paying him $20+ million a year for a player who hasn't even over had 1,000 yards.
Say that deal again to me one more time.
Which one?
$84 million 3 years.
It's 72. It goes up to 84
with incentives.
Yes.
Okay.
But so you're paying him $20+ million a year for a player who hasn't even gotten over 1,000 yards in his career. in a season.
So my take on that is it's a gamble. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk has been under, he's been in Arizona, right?
Sure. Which
He's
for
been
the
under there
last
with
2
D-Hop, Chase Edmonds, everybody's been there.
Well, I will say for the 2 years before this last season was also not a very good place to be a receiver until Kyler Murray showed up, and even when he first showed up, didn't have a lot of other stuff around him, and that team just still sucked.
It's a gamble. You're paying him like he is the guy, thinking that it will be the guy. He will become a guy.
Yeah.
The question is, will it pay out?
I think one perspective you could have is, obviously Jacksonville wanted him. That's obvious.
Clearly.
They paid for it.
Yeah.
Did they have to pay that price because other teams were putting the same price, like making other big offers on him, or did they pay that price just to make sure that no one else was going to put an offer on him and they just ridiculously highballed him?
Okay, here. I'll tell you who Christian Kirk is making as much or more money than Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, and Stefan Diggs. One of those players has just won the Triple Crown.
They're paying him to be the guy. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. That's
the question. Here's my question for you. Who was he with in Arizona? D-Hop, right?
Sure, D-Hop, AJ Green.
D-Hop,
From a
AJ,
defensive perspective, who are you going to cover? Who is your DB1 going against?
Probably
D-Hop.
D-Hop. Now Christian Kirk is going to be the guy.
Well, to be fair, when D-Hop got hurt, Christian Kirk's production was still really good. In fact, it went up.
Here's the thing. If Christian Kirk is so good, wouldn't you have played him over AJ Green? If Christian,
they did though. They did though. AJ Green was in the back stable for them
but
because
if
he's
Christian
so old.
Kirk was so good, wouldn't you play him over as a number 2, which it was in and out between AJ Green and him?
Well, he got way more targets and reps than AJ Green did. AJ Green for them was in the back stable. He was not ridiculous. Like he had one game where he had a 100-yard game, but he was
pick and choose between
it
the
reminds
receivers
me
every
of,
week.
Like 4 or 5 years ago when we got that wide receiver, what was his name? Something Washington from the Titans, and we kind of used him. He was really old, but he was good in spurts. It reminded me of how we used him, is what the Cardinals were doing.
I don't know.
AJ
I just
Green.
think that's too much money.
I agree.
No. I think we're all agree. That's too much money.
I think Gallup is better, and I don't even like his contract.
Yeah. I think they're kind of the same player, right? Like very big vertical threats. They remind me of kind of like a Tavon Austin role, where it's like, hey, you pay for this guy to just be able to have someone to throw to over high safeties, right?
Sure, but if that's the case, you wouldn't pay him $72 million. Like Bert said, he's paid to be the guy, but he hasn't shown the ability to be the guy. I get he had D-Hop and AJ Green there. If he was to be the guy, he would have been getting more looks than D-Hop.
That being said, that's freaking hard.
He's getting
the best receiver in football.
I think he might be getting.
D-Hop.
We just saw one of the best seasons ever by a receiver.
Oh, I agree with that.
And don't forget about Adams.
Okay,
so let's say top 3. He's number 3.
I'd say for a stretch in the last 3 seasons, he's been the best receiver in football. That's unarguable.
Absolutely.
Since he got hurt, we don't know.
But again, he would have been getting almost as many or more looks than D-Hop to get that kind of money.
No, I mean, so we're all in agreement on the fact that holy crap, he's getting overpaid.
Yeah,
the question is like, one, can he perform to that level? It's a gamble.
It's a huge gamble.
Did the Jacksonville Jaguars overpay by choice, or was it we have to get this guy to give Lawrence someone to throw to, and teams are putting down other offers and highballing?
You could have gotten Allen Robinson back. Probably for less money.
But Christian Kirk's a little younger than Allen Robinson.
Sure, but Allen Robinson's more established. If you wanted a guy who...
But Allen Robinson hasn't been playing as well as Christian Kirk, though.
But that Bears offense was awful. I would not blame
I agree
Allen
with
Robinson
that.
For that.
I agree with
that quarterback play, even Justin Fields needs another year.
Well, your biggest argument with Robinson is you can get him for way cheaper.
Exactly.
And I agree with that.
And he's more established than Christian Kirk. He's had 1,000-yard seasons. Yeah. I would be more comfortable paying him 50.
Yeah.
50. Let's say 50 for 3 or 4.
Yeah. No.
50 to 60 for 3 or 4. I would be more comfortable paying Allen Robinson that than paying Christian Kirk 3 years, $72 million.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, we're all in agreement on they're overpaying. It's the reasons why and what the outcome could be that is the big question. But Before we kind of wrap it up here, what were some other big signings that we saw?
Well,
Chase Edmonds.
Chase. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I did want to talk about that. I highly think that's the most underrated signing in this offseason possible because he's going to a team whose offense is developing at a rapid rate where Tua is looking to take a huge step this year with this with Jalen Waddle. Chase Edmonds signing there for 2 years, I believe $12 million. Half of that's guaranteed.
Yep.
Chase Edmonds is going to be that lead guy where in Arizona he was a 50-50 split with James Conner, did not get any red zone touches because of James Conner. I think Chase Edmonds is going to be, if they use him right, maybe like a 60-40 with Malcolm Brown, use him well in the receiving game, a lot of red zone touches. Not only will I think he would be a Pro Bowler, I think he would be top 15, maybe a top 10 play in fantasy football this
He's
season.
definitely going to be on my charts when I draft next year to kind of sneak in at like round 4 or something like that. Like when I needed like a second running back, I always love taking guys that I really think, one that are younger and have a less probability of trending down towards the end of the season instead of trending up. What do we got now with Randy Gregory?
Randy Gregory is staying in Dallas.
No.
Oh, wait, did I say that wrong?
Look at the...
Oh, I saw this. Okay. Never mind.
So he's
going to Denver.
Well, that makes sense because when I first saw that deal from what we saw from the Cowboys before we started, I was like, that's a great. That'd be great if that happens. But at the same time, the Cowboys are going to.
No, the headline I just showed Bert was that the Cowboys have already posted the deal and they had to delete the tweet. But no.
But it as far as like for how long they were keeping him. They did not have the cap space, I think, to do that, in my opinion, after what Dak and Zeke still took up, because that's part of the reason they had to cut Amari Cooper. So,
I don't know, but back to the Gaskin. Again,
Gaskin's a bum.
Or Gaskin, or I meant Edmonds. Gaskin, cut him.
Yep.
Awful buns. He needs to go. Edmonds, you put him in a 60-40 split. Malcolm Brown, in between the 20s, use him in the receiving game, give him a lot of red zone looks.
You can also use Malcolm Brown as your third down short range running back as well.
Absolutely. The 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, whatever. I think Edmonds has a real shot of being Pro Bowl.
I look at Edmonds in the system. You got Tua obviously there. Edmonds is young. Same thing with Waddle.
Yeah, they're putting together a lot of young, really talented guys that look scary.
I think we need to go back and really key in on that DK Metcalf thing we were talking about earlier. You need a number 1 receiver.
Man, the more that I talk about that, the more I really like that.
The biggest question is, can they do it while only getting rid of picks?
Yeah, absolutely.
If they can do that, and not completely sell out their future while doing it. And
you just need one first-round pick.
So like I said, I think their asking price for DK Metcalf is going to be a little bit lower after this last season with his inconsistency he had a little bit last season than
Russell
it would be
Wilson
if it was
also
year
hurt,
one.
so
I get that, but there was also some key moments where he struggled.
Let's keep the big picture in mind here also for the Dolphins. Think about defensively, what do they have?
Christian Wilkins. They got a lockdown corner.
Emmanuel Ogbah, Byron Jones.
Yeah.
Is it enough?
Well, they were a top 5 defense at the end of last
year. They were
so,
top 5 defense at the end of the season. Hold on.
But they could use one more weapon. I agree with that.
So, I think you're putting a lot of faith in Tua at this point. If you're going to make this deal, you're putting everything on the table for Tua.
Well, to some extent, if you're putting a lot of
don't
weapons
forget
around him,
they have Devontae Parker too.
Yeah,
that's right. That is right.
Forgot about that. Well, maybe they can move.
Don't
Parker
forget
as
they
part
also
of
have Xavier Howard on the corner with Byron.
So
Jones.
one thing you could see if they want to do a Metcalf deal, they could especially they could move Parker for Metcalf, so they don't have to give up as much. That could definitely
maybe
work.
Devontae Parker second.
Again,
I think
I like that
putting
better.
A tremendous amount of pressure onto his back.
No, if anything, you're asking him to just go out there and
you can't get it done.
Out of anything, you still have Teddy Bridgewater back there.
But Teddy Bridgewater, it is so hard to win without a quarterback.
Sure,
be the guy.
I completely get it.
That's part of the reason why when Philadelphia won with Nick Foles, it was kind of a crazy deal because it's Nick Foles. It's not Peyton Manning. It's not Tom Brady.
Well, keep in mind, Nick Foles was really good with the Rams for a while before he went to Philadelphia as a backup.
If you go out and you get
started
DK,
and then was backup.
You were telling Tua, it's like you have to be the guy. You have to be the franchise.
But Tua knows that. Tua knows that.
The question is does Tua have that ability? Because we haven't seen it from him.
We'll see. Yeah. I think though Teddy Bridgewater's a more than serviceable backup. Again, he's
just don't dive head first at defensive players.
If you go out and you get DK, you are saying that we are going all in.
Well,
and
to be fair,
you're saying and let's say Tua doesn't work out. Mm-hmm. You're saying we're going all in, and the guy we're putting it all in the hands of is Teddy Bridgewater.
But to be fair, you're going out and getting a bunch of young guys that you can keep around for a while. If they were going out and getting if they had Tua and they're going out and getting a bunch of guys like Devontae Adams or Odell Beckham, that argument would have way more weight to it, in my opinion, because it's like, well, these guys are going to be around for 1 or 2 years max. That means we're pushing right now. When you got Waddle and if you get Metcalf, those guys are only in their second year.
So
Metcalf's in his third.
So then you can have a relationship with them and grow.
Yeah. But does that mean it's like, hey, does that also, to validate your point, it's like, does that also mean that, like, hey, Tua, you got weapons around you. We expect you to be able to have certain numbers. Yeah.
Sure. But that would come with whatever offense you were in.
It comes with the territory, yeah.
So, I mean, even... I did like how you made that point, how they're still young, because you can develop that relationship with the receivers, which in return will get your numbers up because you trust them more, so you can throw them in certain situations better, and you throw with them over years, like how Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers were.
Yeah, exactly.
Aaron has been there ever since Devontae.
Yeah, Devontae's been there through I think he's working on his third contract, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, we've seen that this kind of strategy can work in buying into them early. But I think what we can all agree on to kind of wrap up here is I think what we're seeing from Miami is the right things, right?
Yes.
You're getting a head coach and other subsidiary coaches that are believing and are going to give Tua a legitimate primary role as the QB, right? We're not expecting this guy who's sat on a plane and bought a private plane just to talk to Tua in the air, apparently. And says, hey, we are making you our primary quarterback. We are believing you. We're designing this offense around you. They're making that's a good move. And then getting a bunch of young talent, it looks like they're making the right steps.
Sure, I don't think he's.
Well, Jacksonville's a mixed bag. Jacksonville's just rolling the dice.
I don't think Tua's going to be a Pro Bowler this year, but I think he's going to be way better than he was last year.
He's going to be on the trend up.
Yeah, exactly. So I think as long as you see him improving, that's all that matters. Exactly. More than him being like, okay, if we did trade for DK Metcalf, win Super Bowl right now. I think if you see him throw, let's say, over 59%, maybe 62%, and he threw for over 3,000 yards, I think that's a reasonable being like, okay, we see him improving. We'll keep going. Especially with his giving up on
his lack of play to begin with.
Exactly, because he was hurt at the beginning of his rookie year.
Yep.
I mean, I think more if
played
you see,
maybe one game at the end, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And if you see him developing and improving every year, I don't see why they would give up on Tua if you see improvement every single year.
Yeah, no, there's no point.
What does the O-line situation look like in Miami?
I think top.
Fair enough.
Top half.
Good enough.
They're not going to lose you a game. Yeah. They may not win you a game, but they're not going to lose you a game.
They still need development.
Absolutely.
I would still okay, let's sign a no lineman.
Yeah.
Or let's trade for Laramie Tunsil.
At least that idiot center who was beating up dudes in the locker room no more.
You got the draft too, but then again, if you go out and you get DK, you aren't going to have those draft picks.
Exactly. But, I would still, their O-line is good enough.
Yeah.
I think
where not going to lose you a game.
I tend to think we're all kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all saying that
they're trending upwards.
There's just one piece that's missing, and if they can go out and get a DK or maybe an Allen Robinson, I think that would go a long way in Miami.
Yeah, it's just they just don't want to sell up their future and their ability to add certain pieces as they go. To get a person like DK. So if you can take a Devontae Parker, who if you have both a Metcalf and a Jalen Waddle, if you keep a Parker in there, that could be too much investment in the wide receiver.
Version of DK.
Yeah. To be honest, Parker's shown he's good, but he's not Metcalf. Yeah. So to kind of close
The Dollar General version of DK.
Maybe, yeah, great value. But I think to kind of close here, I think it's pretty obvious Miami is trending upwards right, with these moves. I mean, the Edmonds contract is very cap friendly.
Oh my gosh.
2 years, $12 million. That's a steal.
That's a steal.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna have to wrap up there. Obviously, we're gonna try to record some more episodes in the future, and that we'll touch on some more NFL stuff because I guarantee you, we've had two things buzz up on our phones while we're in the middle of recording this episode in real time. I mean, as of today, it's Tuesday.
Oh, and also Andrew Wentworth, the O lineman for the Rams, their I think right tackle, retired, so he is not coming back.
Okay, so that makes three. That makes sense. That dude was looking like a Jedi Knight by the end of that.
Yeah, so that's a big deal. By the way.
He was looking like he was really getting up. I think he was nearing 37. Oh, he's straight up 40. Okay, I knew he was getting up there. That dude had like a Civil War beard going on. But no, I mean, so that makes now three. NFL real time, big news stuff that's been going off in the recording of this podcast. So we're going to have more to talk about the NFL, but we needed to get the majority of the just absolute bombshells that dropped. It was literally like the moment I texted you guys, like, hey, we're going to bring this back. We're going to do an episode. Well, how about this day? It's like, yeah, once you all confirm, like, hey, let's do it. Let's do it then. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Before I even got back in Tomball. So that was just hilarious. But, hey, we're excited to be back. We're going to try to do as many episodes as we can while we're on the spring break this week, and we're going to trickle them out as we go, try to space them out. But we plan to be more consistent when we get to the summer, and we're both all in the same town. As far as when we go back to school in a week, it's going to be sporadic recording. We have remote setups.
We're going to do our best.
We're going to do our best. Yeah, there's going to be periods where we'll be able to record one here and there. But we're really looking to launch more consistently in the summer. But we're just happy to finally get this thing back and rolling. So again, Thomas, we're so happy to have you, and Bert, always thank you so much for holding it down over there. And thank you guys so much for watching or listening wherever you are. And we'll see you next time.